We used to call Nam June my crazy uncle. He was a great uncle to have because he wanted me to watch more TV.
It is 1974. You are standing in a silent, dimly lit gallery. On the floor sits an 18th century bronze Buddha. It is calm, silent, and ancient. Oh, but it is staring at something deeply modern. A small, flickering television set. This is TV Buddha, the most famous work by Nam June Paik. A closed-circuit camera is pointed directly at the statue's face. The Buddha is watching itself. It is trapped in an infinite electronic feedback loop. At the time, people called this video art. But looking back, we can see it for what it truly was. This was the first selfie. Decades before the front-facing camera, this was our future. The man behind this loop, Nam June Paik, was a nomad of the mind. Born in Seoul and trained as a classical pianist in Tokyo, he was a rebel from the start. He moved to West Germany and joined the Fluxus movement. These were artists who wanted to destroy high art and replace it with chaos. Paik's philosophy was simple but dangerous. He believed the screen shouldn't be a one-way street of government control. He wanted to humanize the electron and make the viewer a participant.
That is my small contribution to this art of video.
If you would be happy if
I would be remembered for having put some nonsense on American TV, and I don't want more credit or less credit.
He was a radical, a prankster, and a hacker. But he was also something much more terrifying. He was a prophet who saw the 21st century coming. While the world was still using rotary phones, Paik was drafting the blueprint for your digital life. He didn't just predict the internet. He predicted the way it would eventually consume our identity.
When you go to the fashion stores, when you go to these designer stores, a lot of the displays for a long time look like Nam June pieces with all the big television pieces all over the place. MTV is very much like Nam June's videos, and he's not just global as an artist, but he foresaw the globalization of everything. Art, commerce, travel, everything.
Because in 1974, Paik handed a secret report to the Rockefeller Foundation. And in those pages, he described the world you are standing in right now. In the spring of 1974, the world looked nothing like ours. Television was a massive, clunky box in the living room. It broadcasted only what the government or big networks allowed. There was no user interface. There was no scrolling. But on a cold day in March, Nam June Paik walked into the Rockefeller Foundation. He wasn't there to show a painting. He was there to deliver a report titled Media Planning for the Post-Industrial Society. In this document, Paik wrote a phrase that would eventually define the modern age. He called it the electronic superhighway. Decades before Al Gore popularized the term, Paik saw a vision. He predicted a broadband network connecting every city via satellites and fiber optics. He described a world where people would go shopping through their screens, where doctors would treat patients through biocommunication, where opinion polls and data transfer happened in real time. Paik even predicted that video conferences would one day drastically reduce air travel. To the suits at the Rockefeller Foundation, this sounded like science fiction. To us, it sounds like a Tuesday. But Paik's vision wasn't just about convenience. He saw the electronic superhighway as a tool for radical social change. He believed it could achieve racial integration by connecting neighborhoods over the air. He saw technology as a long-range cure for the human condition. He promised that the 21st century was only 26 years away. And he was exactly right. But how did a classically trained pianist become an electronic seer? To find the answer, we have to go back to a gallery in 1963, a place filled with the smell of raw meat and the sound of broken glass. To understand Paik's mind, you have to imagine the Galerie Parnasse in Wuppertal, Germany. It was a private home turned into a sensory war zone. At the entrance, visitors were greeted by the head of a freshly slaughtered ox. It was a warning. The old world is dead. Inside, the air smelled of raw meat and ozone. Paik was running about like a madman, overturning pianos and sawing through violins. He called it action music. But in a small room between the hall and the garden, something even more radical was happening. Scattered across the floor were 12 second-hand television sets. In 1963, Germany had only one TV station. Usually, it was a tool for passive consumption, a one-way broadcast. But Paik had spent a year learning how to hack their internal circuits. He used powerful magnets to twist the electron beams into kaleidoscopic ghosts. He connected microphones to the screens so that a viewer's voice would explode into light. He called this participation TV. For the first time in history, the audience wasn't just watching a screen, they were controlling it. In another room, he glued audio tape to the walls in a chaotic city map of sound. He gave visitors a handheld playback head and told them to play the walls. He called this random access music. It was a non-linear way of experiencing information. Today, we call it scrolling. We call it hyperlinks. Paik was turning the consumer into a user before the word even existed in tech. He was trying to break the one-sidedness of the media. He wanted to give the vernacular sucker the power to talk back to the machine. But as Paik would soon learn, when you try to give people power, the people in charge tend to fight back. And his next experiment wouldn't just result in a distorted image, it would end in handcuffs. In 1964, Paik found his perfect collaborator, a classically trained cellist named Charlotte Moorman.
I do have a master's degree in cello, but I met Nam June Paik. Paik made the first new cello since 1600.
Together, they set out to humanize technology by merging the machine with the body. They created the TV bra for living sculpture. 2 tiny television screens covering Moorman's chest as she played her cello. It was absurd, but it had a serious point. Paik wanted to bring sex and humanity to the sterile world of electronics. But the authorities weren't ready for humanized tech. In 1967, during a performance of opera sextronique, the police stormed the building. Moorman was performing topless with her cello. She was arrested and branded the topless cellist. Paik realized then that you couldn't just shock the world into changing. You had to infiltrate it. He stopped being the intruder and became the prophet. Fast forward to New Year's Day, 1984. While George Orwell predicted a dark future of Big Brother watching us, Paik did the opposite. He produced Good Morning, Mr. Orwell, a global satellite broadcast linking New York, Paris, and San Francisco in real time. It was a chaotic, beautiful mess of pop stars, poets, and video glitches. This was Paik's ultimate statement on active participation. To Paik, participation wasn't just clicking a button or leaving a comment. It was a radical two-way dialogue between cultures. He believed that if everyone could broadcast their own reality, the walls of propaganda would crumble. He wanted to prove that Orwell was wrong, that technology didn't have to sedate us. It could wake us up. It could turn the world into a global groove of shared consciousness.
If we solve video art problem, then we solve also space problem. Save space problem, then also we solve energy problem too, energy crisis.
But here is the reality we have to face. Paik's dream of active participation has been hijacked. He wanted us to be the architects of our own electronic signals. He wanted us to look through the machine to find our own truth. But in the 21st century, the machine has become the prison. We have the participation Paik dreamt of, but it is no longer active. It is performative. Every time we participate today, we aren't creating a global dialogue. We are feeding an algorithm. We aren't the hackers, we are the data. Paik's TV Buddha, the statue staring into its own camera, is no longer a piece of high art. It is our daily existence. We stare into the front-facing camera, not for self-knowledge, but for validation. We are trapped in a closed loop, where our own attention is the product being sold. Paik saw the electronic superhighway as a road to liberation, but we turned it into a hall of mirrors. We are staring at our own phones exactly like that stone Buddha. Except we aren't searching for enlightenment. We are waiting for the next notification to tell us we exist. Paik died in 2006 just as YouTube was being born. He didn't live to see TikTok or the selfie era reach its peak, but his ghost is everywhere. It's in the glitch art filters you use. It's in the live stream format he pioneered. It's in the very idea that your life is worth broadcasting. Paik once said, "The satellite's amplification of freedom must be accompanied by the protection of the weak." Today, we have the technology he dreamt of, but we are still learning how to be the active users he wanted us to be. So next time you look into your phone, remember the Buddha. Are you watching the screen? Or is the screen simply reflecting a version of you stuck in a loop?